Hello and welcome to this very special episode on the bets.com.au YouTube channel. We're going to take a look at the NRL futures market and win totals. This is one of my favorite markets to bet on pre-season and even sometimes throughout the season if the sport allows it and the betting companies allow it. NBA, NFL, any sport, AFL, NRL, I'm always on these under and overs and the win totals because I like thinking ahead about seeing the possibilities and which team will perform, which team will underperform, comparing it to the models that I have as well, and figuring out, which team has underperformed, overperformed compared to the models that I've built for previous years. So what we're going to do in this episode is we're going to look at the under and over numbers for a bunch of teams in the NRL. I'm going to check them out on the Bet365 website, but it may be different to whatever site you can access and get information from. But in any case, we'll check that out and then compare it to some of the numbers that I have and that we have from our models and what we think might happen. We're not going to touch on every single team, but pick out the ones that I think are most value, and I'll give you a couple of reasons why, and then we'll go from there. So let's get into it. First up, Canberra Raiders. We're going to just go through the list and see if they're worth anything. The Raiders, for me, the number's pretty fair. I've got them pegged in at about 9 wins. They have 3 years of overachieving in a row compared to the models. So for me, I think that's a pretty fair number for them. New Zealand, another team which is hovering around the number which I have in their preseason. I've actually got them for 10 wins. The model is spitting out 9. So you're not getting a lot of value on the under here on this market, but if you think that the Warriors are going to struggle with their halves or something like that, then the under is the better pick here compared to the over. Head down to Cronulla. Now this one is very exciting. Cronulla have exceeded their win totals the last few years, but they've actually underperformed in win totals compared to the points differential and the models which build from points. So if you think that underachieved 2 years in a row, then likely to overachieve sometime again in the future. We have them pegged for 17 wins this season. Now, there's only one thing that will go against that number, and that's their strength of schedule. Now, we do strength of schedule a little bit different here at bets.com.au. We look at the coming season and where we expect teams to finish on the ladder this coming season, and then we do the strength of schedule compared to that ranking, not as many others do to last year's table or ladder finishing positions. I believe it doesn't give a valuable insight as teams have changed, and obviously it's a good measure of what happened last year, but we expect different things from all of these teams this season. Injuries played a big part in where teams finished last season, and while we still have everything in front of us, I think the strength of schedule should be based on the projected win totals and the projected finishing positions of all teams, and that's what we've done here. The Sharks, they have one of the toughest schedules this season. I think it's top 6 in the way that we count it. So that is the only real thing that will go against that win total of 17 that we've picked out. But this number here, you see it, 14.5, and you're getting the good money for the over here. So this is one that I'll be hitting pretty hard this season. And, the team has only gotten better. Hines missed a heap of games last season with injury. They've recruited Adam Fanua-Blake, I think, and they've gotten rid of some dead weight as well. So I think the Sharks are in for a really good season, and I'm tipping them to go over that win total. Penrith Panthers. Interesting, 15.5 wins. Another team that we have pegged for a lot higher. The computer model spitting out 19 wins for the Panthers this upcoming season. We've pegged them down to 17. I believe Jerome Luai will have an effect in his departure from this team, as well as James Fisher-Harris, but I can't see it being, 5 wins different or something like that. Nathan Cleary missed a bunch of games. I think it was 14 games last season they didn't play, and they still were one of the best teams in the competition, finished second on the ladder, won another premiership. So to have the 4-time premiers on 15.5 wins, I mean, it's almost like free money, right? So get them on the over there. Brisbane. A lot of reports coming out of the Broncos camp that they're training the house down under Mike Maguire. Um, and that's important, I think, for this team that has lacked maybe a little bit of direction the last few years under Kevin Walters, and obviously a lot of off-field stuff that's been happening to this team. But Adam Reynolds, Ben Hunt in there leading the team now, and on injuries, for the most part right now, are looking on the bright side. Payne Haas missed a lot of time last year. Reece Walsh, Adam Reynolds missed time. If these guys can stay on the park, then they are going to be a top 8 contender. We've got them pegged for 13 wins, but I think that this number is a pretty fair number. I won't be playing it, but I think Brisbane will definitely be in the top 8, and they'll be a contender this season as long as their players can stay on the park. Sydney Roosters, well, what do we say about my old Roosters, eh? 11.5 wins they are pegged at here, and that is due to an exodus of players that left the club over the past off-season, and then injuries as well. Sam Walker out for probably the best part of the first half of the season here, and they haven't been extremely great in the trials. But, trials, you can't take a lot out of it because the way the teams have been running out, the amount of players there. We have the Roosters, the computer model spitting out 18 wins. Now, that is based on their previous last year, the last 2 years, the last 3 years, and the last 10 years. It's all different weightings there. We've pegged them down to 15 just because of the exodus of players and the injuries that they have. But the Roosters always find a way to win. They are one of the best coach teams, best coach franchises in this NRL, and they always find a way to win. So if you have any sort of faith for Trent Robinson and James Tedesco and other host of fantastic players that the Roosters still have on their roster, then 11.5 wins isn't a very high number for them to get to. I'll be playing this one. The West Tigers. You're getting a pretty fair number there for the Tigers, I think, until they show us that they are able to produce at a higher level. I think they're going to probably be there or thereabouts. Newcastle, same thing. They've had trouble still trying to figure out their halves in the off-season. They have one of the best players in the world in Kalen Ponga on their side, but unless you can figure out your whole team and your halves and how they're going to be directed around the park, I can't see Newcastle being, much better or much worse than what they have been the last kind of 2 or 3 seasons. The Dolphins. Well, what do we say about our Dolphins? Hey, they've underachieved the last 2 years compared to their points. So they should have won more games than what they have done, which means, there's a very good chance they overachieve in this coming season. But you think about their roster changes and their coaching changes. How will that affect the team? I think the coaching change is great. I think they will be much better under Christian Wolf. But the question is, will it happen straight away? And will that roster they have right now be able to put more wins on the board than this number? I think they will. It's a very fair number at 9.5. We haven't pegged for 10. It's just a feeling. I want them to go more. I want them to be good. I'll probably have a little flutter on the over here with the Dolphins, but it's more just a nostalgia, or what do you call it? I do it because I want them to succeed. So I try and get them over the line. The South Sydney Rabbitohs. Well, I mean, we had them in the top 8 before injuries struck. Cam Murray out, Latrell Mitchell out. Can they still win games? I think they can. It's a bit of a plus-minus here. The computer model had them at 11 wins for this season, which makes this a very fair number, especially when you weigh in the injuries. If you don't believe the injuries will play such a large role, Latrell Mitchell missed a bunch of games last season anyway. Cam Murray, how much does one guy affect the win total of the season? You be the judge. But if you don't think that's going to make a massive difference, then you must hammer the over here at 220 because it's just a very low number for a Wayne Bennett coach team with that other half of the roster they have, or 80% of the roster they have there. They can still produce at a high level if they're on song, and I believe Wayne Bennett will be able to get them to play to their potential this season. The Bulldogs, 13.5. Well, what do we say about the Bulldogs? They have the 4th hardest schedule, according to our strength of schedule here at best.com.au. The computer model has them at 10 wins, and that is because they have struggled to score points the last few seasons. They haven't made any significant changes over the offseason to contribute more points to the scoring effort. Their defense is great, and they're going to be a great defensive team, which could possibly push them up into the 8. But when you look at teams that are there and thereabouts around that kind of 6 to 12 spot, you have a bunch of teams that are much better scoring than what the Bulldogs are. So will their defense be better than the other team's offense? I don't think so. I think they're going to go under this win total of 13.5. I'll be backing the under with that hard schedule. I think they're going to struggle to score points, and teams around them will catch up to them. St George, Illawarra Dragons, 9.5, pretty fair number there. Until we see the effects of Damien Cook, Val Holmes, Clint Gutherson, and the guys that left, Ben Hunt and Zach Lomax, I think we really don't know what St George Illawarra. Their halves aren't great. They might upset a few teams. They probably win games they lose games they should have won. It's St George. Manly Sea Eagles, we have them at 5th in the competition this season, 13.5. You're getting a really fair number there. The computer thinks 13. We think 14. You're there or thereabouts. There's no value really to bet the Sea Eagles. And you're at the mercy of Tommy Turbo's hamstrings. North Queensland, 11.5. Computer model has them at 15. Now, they're losing Val Holmes, who's the top point scorer in the league. His goal kicking is extremely valuable to a team. Will that make them lose 3 games more than last year? I don't think so. Tommy Dearden's still great. With Cam Munster, if he's healthy, he's playing Origin. What does Tom Dearden do? Is he in the squad, or is he back playing park footy not park footy, but NRL through the Origin period? That could mean a lot for the North Queensland Cowboys, who are pegged at 11.5 here. I'll be taking them the over. Not a great number you're getting here, the 180, but 11.5, you're not making the 8 if that's your win total. And I believe the North Queensland Cowboys are a top 8 team. They finished quite high. Was it 4th last season or something like that? So, they're not going anywhere. Melbourne Storm, we got them at 19 wins. The computer's got them at 19 wins, but you're not getting any value in over 16.5 here. I don't even know why the number 16.5 with these odds. Bet it. You're bound to win, but at what cost? Parramatta, one of the most interesting numbers on the board here. It's 11.5, which is a very fair number compared to the model and what we think. But they are a team that were heavily affected by injury last season. If Mitch Moses is on the park, this team is very, very good. And by all accounts, Jason Riles coming in and shaping up and shipping out the dead weight, this could be the team that surprises everyone. I've heard a lot of people discounting the Eels this season, and you know what? When the public is on one way, we go the other way. Get on the Eels, on the over. You're getting the best number here. Get on that and drive that home. Gold Coast, we got them coming last. Smash the under here. They're injury prone. They're halves. We don't know what's going on. Too many good players in the same position, and not enough good players in other positions. Des Hasler, I don't know. It's just not much can go right for these Titans, unfortunately. But someone's got to take the wooden spoon, and this year we think it's going to be them. Take the win total under, and we've gone through all the teams there. It's fantastic. Let us know in the comments what you think. If the win totals that we've picked out, you think they're good, think they're bad. I want to know your reasoning why. Maybe I've overlooked something, or I haven't taken into account something that's very important in what you've done in your calculations. Let me know in the comments what you think. Stick around for all the NRL, AFL content here on the channel, as well as the finals for NBL. Check out all of those videos, and then over on bets.com.au you can read game previews for all sports and racing. The best site for your tips and predictions, hands down. Thanks for sticking around.